Hello everyone, welcome back to Lawyer Speaks. Today I, Shivansh Bansal, co-founder at Law Community, is here with Ms. Shavani Deshmukh. She is an associate at Create and Protect IP Partners. She has a keen interest in fashion and art law, and she's extensively working in intellectual property consultant. And we are here to know more about her journey and learn from her.
I think IPR was something that I actually stumbled upon. Initially, I think probably in my first year of law school or even before that, whenever I used to go out, I used to look at these brand names or even just the names of companies out there. And sometimes I could see local shops having names of bigger companies. And I would just think, are the bigger companies aware of this happening? So it wasn't in terms of IPR. I didn't know the concept that well, but I just thought of something like that. And once I got into law school, I slowly and gradually got to understand what IPR is, what the topics are, and the differences between the different types of IPs. And probably in the third year of my law school, I was pretty sure that this is something that I want to take up further, and concentrated most of my internships in IPR after that. And yeah, I love every part of it. Every day of my work I enjoy, and I think I'm happy with my decision.
As you have done course on copyright law in music industry, so can
Yeah.
you enlighten us about the Novex company and various music companies agreement with it?
Novix company is like a licensee of a lot of music companies. A lot of music companies has given Novix company a license to have the authority and access, because they have the authority and access in public events in terms of people playing music at public events. So what Novix does is it has access to the music libraries in a lot of these bigger music companies. And if you're supposed to play a certain music from these companies, you're supposed to take a prior permission from Novex, since they have the access to these libraries, and only then can you play a public performance. Public performance being anything for which you pay to perform, pay to watch, probably in a probably in a hotel lobby or something, where you have to pay for that performance, and it is for the purposes of profit. So if it's a home performance, if it's a domestic performance, you don't need to take any license for that, because it's not for profit purposes. But the key word here, I think, is for profit. If you're playing something a profit for public performance, then you have to take that permission from Novex, and it has the complete right and access from the music companies to give you that permission or not give you that permission.
What are your views regarding AI and rights for the person inventing it?
AI, it's a very complicated issue. It's a very complicated topic. I'm not quite well versed with it myself. But for me, I think for AI, the core is when an AI is made and an AI is created, there's some sort of human intervention that goes in there. Obviously, when you go ahead, AI can develop a mind of its own, and then it can create its own new technologies. But from the very basic beginning, I would say that when any human interaction is needed, I think so for there, what we need to just make sure here is we need to define where the rights of the programmer, for that matter, start, and where the rights of the AI starts. There's this thin line between both of them, because once you go for a patent, where you go and get a patent granted for yourself, there are certain rights and duties that an inventor also has. So we don't know as of now that if that AI can perform those rights and duties or not going ahead. Obviously, it can take and it can develop it in the future in the process. But I think for now, we need to concentrate more on developing that technology and not thinking about and going ahead and granting a patent and granting the position of inventor for an AI. So I think it's still a developing technology. We should concentrate more on that. And then also, that's also one of the reasons why AI and citizenship has been such a flawed concept, because you have certain rights and duties as a human person. We don't know if AI can still go ahead and do all of that. So it's a gray area. Lots of discussion required.
Could you share your experience being an IP consultant?
IP consultant, I am an IP consultant, but I uh, like to call myself an IP professional because it's a more rounded term. Because what we do at our company is we obviously consult brands, whatever new clients come to us, we do consult them. But as a consultant, your work is to do a little bit of market search, whatever the client comes with, any type of IP that they have. You do a little bit of search and then you go ahead and consult them about what you should do, what they should do about it. So what we do is we don't just restrict ourselves as a consultant in terms of, okay, just doing the research, giving whatever is needed and giving it back to them. I think the better thing that we also try to incorporate here is we try and do an IP valuation, if you're aware of it. So IP evaluation will make the client understand more in a better sense what is there going around in the market, what is a niche that they can create, because everyone wants to create a niche market for themselves right now. So I think IP evaluation is one of the key concepts that we also look into as IP consultants. So it's not just about their current IPs, it's also about their past IPs or their proposed maybe future IPs that they want and whatever is available in the market. So it's an amalgamation of all of these things.
So, can you also share your views in changing dimensions and trends these days in IPR?
IPR at the position that we are right now has come a long way from what it was initially. What I saw in law school, I did not have a lot of experience and I did not see a lot of people being that aware of it. So I think people are getting aware, but what happens is a lot of times, like, we like to concentrate a lot on independent inventors who come to and who want to get their inventions patented, or even just small companies who want to get their trademarks or copyrights done. So what we have found out from the research and a little experience right now is that a lot of these small companies, that's not the first thought that comes into their head when you incorporate a company or you form brand of your own. IP protection is not the first thing that comes into their head. They think of it more like an expense. They don't think of it as an investment. So I think the difference between those two things is something that will really change the game. If you really understand from within that IP is something that I want to invest in and it's a long-term investment for sure, then it will change the game totally. India is obviously coming to terms with it a little bit. Bigger companies are more prone to getting their IPs done, or even infringement cases, but smaller companies are still quite hesitant because there's not much awareness. For starters, they think that it's really expensive and it's time consuming, which it is time consuming, and they don't want to invest in all of that because smaller companies, you might understand, even I'm a small company, yours also is, it's something that we want to be like, okay, I want to make other things perfect before getting into IP. So it's a process. We need to get there soon, but that's what we're here for. We want to be spreading that awareness. We want, whenever a client comes, that's what we do. We make them understand the process, because it's not just about telling them and giving their this is your IP protection, we have registered, we have filed for it, and that's it. No, we literally take them every step of the way and make them understand all of it. So it's a process. It's changing. It's positive. It's in a positive direction, but there's still a long way to go. And I think we as a young generation can only do it.
What are your views regarding the petition which was filed to shut down IPAB and shifts its function to high courts and commercial courts?
This is a very debatable question. So IPAB, in its functioning in itself, it's not very consistent. It's not something which is doing the best job. But at the same time, I don't think the solution is to take all the cases from IPAB and put it into High Court, because again, as I was mentioning before, IP is not something that we think is a big priority. When we shift them to High Courts, it'll just be a log. It'll just be like lagging behind, and they won't be taken up at priority. So I think if we focus more on improving the functioning of IPAB, having those kind of professionals over there, those kind of people in the expert fields over there, have like a board of members that can sit together, discuss, I think that will be better, because it's just better in terms of High Court. High Court will not be able to do that. I can just think of it as such a big problem where they will, yeah, trademark infringement case, we don't have time for that. There are a lot of other cases that we have to go through. So I think IPAB in its functioning has been very irregular. So if we concentrate more on improving the functioning, it will be better than completely shutting it down, because IP is a niche area. A lot of times people don't really think about it. So high courts will definitely not do that.
What is your view about patent pooling in India? Is it effective during COVID-19 crisis these days?
For patent pooling, I will say that for starters, yes, for COVID-19, I think it will be a great opportunity because it's for humanity's sake. Not we don't do everything for commercial purposes or economic purposes. But at the same time, as I was mentioning before, there's a lot of process and there's a lot of time that takes place in the filing of a patent, in the examination of a patent, and then publishing it. Even if you do the expedited process, because COVID-19 is a fairly new, it just started this year. So, having thought of a technology for that, or the different technologies in general, having thought of those, and then going ahead and filing them, getting them registered, and then going into the market will take the turnaround time will be really a lot. So I think in this case, patent pooling will be great, because if you have some existing technology and if you come and if you have a base technology for that matter, and then you pool it with the new technology that might help in and aid in the functioning of that original technology, I think patent pooling will really, really help. And I think it should be done for COVID-19 especially. It needs to be done because a lot of creative minds and a lot of fresh minds and new talents have come up with a lot of great technologies. And I'm aware of that. We're in the market. We know that so many people come up with ideas, our generation especially. So just because you might not have the financial aid for that, it'll just put them in a disadvantaged position. So if you pull them, it'll be a great boon.
So during this pandemic, is your day-to-day practice has been affected?
That's a good question. At CPIP, we work remotely all throughout the year. We have always been working remotely. We were always a work from home company. So it did not affect us so much. In fact, a lot of people, as I was mentioning before, that a lot of people with new technologies and new creative minds have come up and they want to get things done. They want to get things registered, because now people are focusing on different things, and probably registrations will happen faster. Just a thought. But not necessarily, it hasn't really affected us, because we always were working remotely. Our clientele were already placed in their places already. So no, contrary to other companies, I think a lot of companies have been suffering, but ours is a fairly good pace which is going.
Could you enlighten students about fashion and art laws and their future in the same?
um that's a huge topic actually to discuss. But fashion and art laws, I think for India, again, art laws especially, there's literally not much there. Fashion laws, obviously, because there's big fashion houses over here in India, and they do look out big companies in general do have the knowledge and the access to lawyers and legal help for all of their cases. But in India, what happens is when you see something as creative fields as fashion and art laws, the only thing that first comes to your head is, oh, copyright, you know, copyright and trademark at times. But there's so much more different. There's other technologies, trade secrets, for example. It's a huge field, which is, because there is no protection, no registration involved for it, a lot of people don't really consider it. So I think for fashion and art laws, along with IPR, you need to have your contracts in place. You need to have your constitutional law, for example, in place. So all of these together, it's a more rounded approach than just being confined to IPR. So there's a long way to go, especially for art law, because in theory, we have a lot of laws in place. We have everything in the Bare Acts. We have it all in place. But when it comes to the practical implementation of those laws, and even the access to those laws, it doesn't happen. It does not happen, because a lot of times we've seen cases where big fashion houses can take some design from a small artisan or some small local artisan which will have a traditional cultural expression which has been brought down for generations together. When you come together, and that's craft that you have, that's an art you have, and then they just take it and then they'll implement it in their own design. So I think there again there's a line where you say, okay, I was inspired by the design or I was copying the design. So that also, there's this thin line between there. So all of these things, when you take into consideration, there's a long way to go, because especially now, with the whole vocal for local thing going on, I personally know there's so many good local brands, fashion brands, Indian brands, and they do such good work. But again, IP is not something that they're even aware of, or again, it's not the first thing in their mind that they want to protect it. Because if they have a design, they're like, okay, but how much will it cost for me to have this design protected, or how much will it cost for me to get this copyrighted, and I have so many other creations, and how much so all of those things taken into consideration. Fashion laws has come a long way. It's developing, and a lot of people are still aware of it. But art laws is something which is really not, it's a very unknown territory for everyone, because I don't know, people still have this mentality that art doesn't have any value. I don't know. It's a part of mentality also. If the country has that mentality to have that change and bring that change, then it will be quite good. So traditional knowledge, traditional cultural expressions, these are also integral parts of fashion laws and art laws. We need to be aware of those things. If we're not aware of those things, I don't know if we can take it forward.
What would you suggest to law community for bringing more innovative initiatives for the legal fraternity?
First of all, thank you for having me. This is totally unexpected, but Law Community is actually doing a great job. I was going through the website, and there's so many new trivia and so many new things that I learned in just one day after looking at the website. So I think one thing that I would like to suggest is that, someone like me who's not a huge professional with great amount of experience, I think Law Community should keep doing that, get in new professionals, get in fresh professionals, so that, we have just come into the career, we have just come into the field, we have the experience as an intern, we still have that fresh in our memory, and we are professionals as well. So I think pulling that together and combining all of it, there's a lot of new ideas that can be given and taken from fresh professionals. So I think this is a great opportunity that you guys have started, given a lot of young professionals, and you should keep continuing that and do that more. That everyone gets professionals and with a lot of huge experience on their on their websites, but getting in young talent is really, really important, and encouraging that, motivating everyone. So I think, thank you for that.